Well, it's been quite a day. We lost Lindsey Graham at 71 years of age. I had the privilege of being on in my hometown of Chicago this morning to deliver the sad news and talk about it, and really to spend time getting to know Lindsey Graham and everything he stood for. We're going to talk about that, but we have a sick Islamist Imam in Dallas-Fort Worth who has danced on the grave of Lindsey Graham today. I have a lot to say about that. We also have the Fort Worth police chief coming out and saying that, yes, our Fort Worth police officers need training when it comes to going after the freedom of speech of people protesting a pride festival, the Trinity Pride Festival. There is the same officer for 2 years in a row who's been apparently violating the civil rights of people that don't agree with or worship pride. That is going to be very interesting, particularly because just late breaking as I was coming on the air this evening with you, we have a new chief of police, Eddie Garcia from Fort Worth Police Department, has come forward and done an interview with WFAA TV Channel 8. I will share you the details on that. Also, we have the vile story. I'm sure you've heard that Tim Walz and his Board of Pardons pardoned a child rapist who's an illegal. But what you didn't get is what just came out today about how horrifyingly worse this whole thing was, with Tim Walz saying, you know what, and the Democrats that run Minnesota saying, you know what, we love illegals, and we're in a cult that is a cult of DEI and leftist and illegal worship, so we're going to overlook child rapists because our cult puts illegals before child rapists, and we protect the child rapist because he's illegal. It's just so sick. Also have a brand new information on just how much illegals increase the price of housing and rent in our communities all across America, not just in Dallas-Fort Worth, but the studies from the Dallas Fed and some other. There's two really important warnings I have for you if you're a parent or a grandparent, to protect your children or grandchildren. There's also a warning for every single person, period, that you got to tell everybody about, so that you don't get killed on the side of a road. Something just happened again, and it happens again and again, whether in Dallas-Fort Worth, where it just happened, or anywhere in the country. So all that's coming up next. This show is brought to you by IRSprob.com, IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy is my tax planner and my CPA and has been for a decade, and he's absolutely amazing. By the way, I cannot wait to tell you about Blue Ribbon Roofing. They replaced my entire roof Friday, all day Friday and all day Friday night, and it's incredible. I'll show you pictures in a little bit. Blue Ribbon Roofing, BlueRibbonDFW.com. Amazing, truly, truly amazing. And there's so much more coming to show you. All right, but first, Lindsey Graham. I know you've heard a lot, so I'm not going to play all the stuff you've heard or that's been discussed. But he was his sister, and he grew up poor. His parents had a pool hall / restaurant / bar. Lindsey grew up in a bedroom on the other side of the pool hall, and guess what else I just found out this evening? It was a one-room thing for the whole family. The family all lived in one room. And I want to tell you about this. I think it's beautiful that Lindsey, his sister, and his mom and dad all grew up together in one room. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Hi, Texas Rangers number 4. Hello, hello. Anybody else chimes in? You can watch on Facebook or on Rumble. You can comment. I'll see it in real time, and I'll comment. I appreciate you very much. But think of the beauty. Even though Lindsey and his family were poor, think of the beauty of growing up and your dad, your mom, and your sister, and you are all in one room. They watched TV together. They ate together. You know, my daughter's 19. She is going to college. She moved out. She's in the Metroplex still, so we see her regularly. But my wife's 50th birthday party just happened, and we just had a kind of a surprise. She knew about it, and for about 2 days, my daughter, my son, who's 22, just graduated college, and my wife and I, we all were together in the same house, you know, hanging out on and off for a few days. It was a beautiful thing. Family is so important. I'm almost getting a little teary, but anyway, Lindsey was always working. Lindsey was on he was on a cargo plane when he flew to Ukraine and back. You know, like a probably a C-137 transport, one of the military cargo planes or such. And he slept in a sleeping bag at 71 years of age on the floor of the C-130 cargo transport plane. Lindsey Graham, as you know, his mom and dad died within 15 months of each other when his sister was 13. His mom died from Hodgkin's lymphoma. His dad died 15 months later. He had two things. He had colon cancer, but he also had a heart attack and died. And so Lindsey was a Gamecock. He was at the University of South Carolina at the time this happened. And when he came home and he didn't adopt, but he became the legal guardian of his little sister at the age of 13. Now, can you imagine? You know how hard it is for a single parent. Can you imagine how hard it is to be a young man suddenly thrust into the responsibility of raising your sweet sister, and you're in college, and then you go to law school, how you're just holding it together? So many nights, so many times when you're just holding it together and you're working your you-know-what off, and you're taking care of your sister, you're trying to protect her. And then he went to serve the military. He retired after 33 years of service as a full bird colonel. He won a Bronze Star for his service. He served as recently as 2015. That's when he retired as a full bird colonel. 2015. This man served until he was 61 years of age. 60 whatever or something like that. 60 years of age. And really an amazing man. And I don't care if you like him or not. That's not my big deal. I loved that he wanted to rip the heads off and crap down the throats of the Iranians, of the terrorists in Gaza, and he no problem on Putin too. Nobody was closer to President Trump than he was. He was one of the very few people, like him or not, that had the direct ear of President Trump all the time. In fact, as you know, he was on the phone with Trump in the hours before he died. One of the reports that came out is from Axios. Graham told somebody close to him. We find out tonight that it was his his chief of staff or one of these right-hand people or PR person or something. He told his chief of staff, a lady, that he was not feeling well, and he was urged to seek medical attention immediately from her. He, after they got off the phone, she called 911. He said he had planned to wait. He wouldn't call 911. He planned to wait until after his scheduled Sunday appearance on Meet the Press. He knew he had a big problem, but he said, I want to do Meet the Press. He joked, quote, I can't die now, saying he still needed to pass the Russia sanctions bill, address Iran, and help broker normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. He died several hours later. I'm going to play for you. And on his last trip to Ukraine, he as I said, he slept on the bottom of a cargo plane, on the floor of a cargo plane in a sleeping bag, and then spent 10 hours on a train from my homeland of Poland, because you can't fly into Ukraine, obviously, right now with the war. I'm going to play for you a beautiful video of none other than Spartacus, the joke that is Senator Cory Booker, and a sweet thing he said, a very sweet, sweet, sweet thing he said today about Lindsey Graham. It tells you a lot about who this guy is. And let's go to that. Oh, no, first you have to do this. First we have to do this. This is Lindsey Graham. Look at this freaking picture. Look at this. Look at that. There's a lady behind him over his shoulder with some Kavanaugh banner screaming at him. And here he is smiling, adjusting his tie with her in the background. Nothing flips the bird of that idiot in the back than him smiling and adjusting his tie in a selfie. Isn't that the best? Isn't that absolutely the best? I love it. I absolutely love it. That is Lindsey Graham in a nutshell. Let's look at that one more time. It's just too funny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, he doesn't look bothered at all. Here's Cory Booker, though, and as much of a turd as he is, much as a guy that grades on you, he has a beautiful thing to say about Lindsey Graham, and it's worth watching.
So I go up to Lindsey Graham, and I'm a brand new senator, determined to do something about mass incarceration. And I hear through Dick Durbin and others that he's the guy to work with. And I say, Mr. Graham, sir, I'd like to work with you on criminal justice reform. He seems almost amused by what I said. He goes, Cory, do you understand? I'm in a primary right now, and I'm running against a guy who is batshit crazy. I can't even so much as talk to you right now. Get out of here, man. Come back to me after my primary. And I laughed and came back to him after the primary. And true to his word, he rolled up his sleeves and we went to work. And thanks to him and Dick Durbin and some other Senate heroes, our bill became the First Step Act after years, 2 presidents, 2 Congresses, and became law. One of my favorite moments in that negotiation was at the last minute, I'm trying to force one more thing into that bill. This has to do with children being put in solitary confinement. And I am going at it with this White House official who says, no, hard no. And we're almost yelling at each other. And then he says, I'm going to get Lindsey Graham on the phone and he will tell you. And so he gets the White House operator to connect Lindsey Graham onto the phone. And Lindsey Graham listens for maybe a hot second and then interrupts the guy and says, are you kidding me? We need Cory Booker to get this bill done. We can't do it without him. Give him what he wants. And it was in the bill. It's now part of the law of the land. One of the White House negotiators during that first negotiation told me that Lindsey Graham was like an unguided missile. That God, you never knew which way he was going to go, whether he would come back and hit you. But when he was aligned, when he would be in the right place at the right time, man, he could get things done that other people couldn't and bring a lot of light and new possibilities to the efforts. I am stunned at Lindsey Graham's death, but I pray that he is reunited with.
All right, there you go. Anyways, it's just a nice thing that even people that are absolutely, we go after, rightfully so, I go after all the time. It's nice to see the good stuff because humanity is humanity. All right, a radical Islamist Muslim imam, quote unquote, celebrating the death of Lindsey Graham from Dallas-Fort Worth. This is Omar Suleiman. And this is via Breitbart and Rare, the Rise, Align, Ignite, Reclaim USA, founded by Amy Meck, pointing out Imam, quote-unquote, Omar Suleiman, posted about the senator's death hours after it was announced. Suleiman wrote, in other news, Lindsey Graham is dead. I am with Israel. Do whatever the hell you have to. Level the place. Do it in Gaza, what we did in Tokyo and Berlin. Bye, Lindsey. May you live in an eternity of ruins for the ruins you've helped create in Gaza. Amen. I guess he meant to put in 2 E's. I don't know. Well, this is the same Imam, Omar Suleiman, who has defended convicted terrorists, who has called for a third intifada, and goes to Turkey to work with Muslim Brotherhood leaders who are banned from entering the United States. The Democrat Party invited him to pray over Congress to Allah. Omar Suleiman, radical Islamist Imam, dancing on the grave of Lindsey Graham. Well, sir, you know what's funny? It takes a real sick person to attack somebody publicly like that. Because I don't care when this guy dies or people that I mock like Cory Booker. I'm not going to do that. It's a sick type of a person to do that. But I'll tell you this. Omar Suleiman is mad about Lindsey Graham saying level Gaza. 3/4 of all Gazans in a poll months after Hamas did its terrorist attack on October 7th approved of Hamas. 3/4 of every person living in Gaza says, yes, we love that Hamas slaughtered the Jews, raped them, tortured them, kidnapped them, brought them back here, and are raping them here in our neighborhoods. We love it. So yes, level Gaza. Yes, they're a bunch of terrorists, almost all of them. Yes, Lindsey Graham was right. And the same with Iran. He was right. So, Omar Suleiman, you are on the side of terrorists who love to rape, murder, and kill people. And Lindsey is on the side of killing people that love to rape, murder, and kill people. I'll take that side. Here's another real big thing. Lindsey Graham literally, after being one of the most powerful people in the world as a U.S. Senator, had one of the lowest levels of wealth in all of Congress. He was worth $1.5 million when he died. That tells you everything, because you think of the amount of money this guy could have gotten from the power he had. That tells you everything about that. Now we have some local people in Dallas-Fort Worth. Tarrant County Democrat candidates are dancing on the grave also of Lindsey Graham. Democrat candidate for Texas House District 97, Beth Llewellyn McLaughlin, says rest in purgatory? ? For the flip-flopping sycophant of the Senate. This is Beth Llewellyn McLaughlin running against Texas State Rep John McQueenie, District 97, in November's elections. Now, let me actually read to you something else. This is why Lindsey Graham was the smartest guy. Well, a smart guy. This is why he was one of the smartest people in the room. Watch this. Because somebody called in this morning when I was filling in Chicago. And, there's people that don't agree with us. Obviously, they call in on radio, talk radio, which is great. And he said that basically that Lindsey Graham didn't have a spine. He did whatever Trump wanted to, etc. But let's read what this one commentator said on Twitter. And this is on my Twitter feed. You should absolutely see it, retweet it, because I think it's awesome. Here we go. The difference between Jeff Flake, former U.S. Senator from Arizona, and Lindsey Graham. Quote, Jeff Flake was on NPR tonight. This would be last night, Sunday night. Jeff Flake was on NPR tonight to talk about Graham. He spoke fondly of his former Senate colleague, who he personally liked a great deal, as did everyone apparently. But he couldn't countenance his embrace of Trump. It occurred to me that these two succinctly embody the two paths for the old GOP. Align with Trump and stick around as one of the most influential figures in American life, or stubbornly and sanctimoniously refuse to spend the back end of your career, sanctimoniously refuse and spend the back end of your career doing Sunday night hits on Democrat Party radio. A valuable lesson there. So that is the difference between Lindsey Graham and a senator like Jeff Flake. Lindsey decided to pivot and work with President Trump and became one of the most powerful U.S. senators in my lifetime, and possibly in most of our lifetimes, because he pivoted and he worked with Trump. Think of it this way. What do you want to get achieved? If you are a United States Senator, what is your dream? Why are you running? What do you want to achieve? Imagine having the ear of one of the most consequential presidents of all time for 2 freaking terms. Had Lindsey survived for these last 2 years, he would have had 8 years of the right direct ear of President Trump. He was on the phone with him hours before he died. President Trump listened to Lindsey Graham. One of the reasons why we attacked Iran was because of Lindsey Graham, like him or not. So you could be a Jeff Flake or you can be a Lindsey Graham. Which would you rather be? Elf support, if I'm saying that right. Yeah, Elf support chiming in. Cory Booker is on the members list of Peter Thiel's Secret Society dialogue, similar to the Bilderberger group that focused on the U.S. Okay, that's interesting. So that's something I'm extraordinarily passionate about, as you can tell. I want to get into, let me see something here. I want to get into Fort Worth Police, because, as you know, Fort Worth Police have now become internationally famous, thanks to libs of TikTok and other accounts, for attacking and even giving a citation of people who disagree with the Trinity Pride Festival in Fort Worth, Texas. Multiple police officers, supervisors on video violating the rights of people that are peacefully protesting. Now comes the chief of police for the city of Fort Worth, Eddie Garcia, who came out, and we'll see if he gives a mea culpa, if he defends this, or what. Coming up next. But first, this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com, IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy has been my CPA for 10 years now, and he's freaking amazing. This past year was the biggest test. My first full year of being a small business owner with my show and my podcast, and my taxes and my tax planning went freaking amazing, beyond amazing. All right, I don't want to give you the numbers, but very well. Randy Martin, thank you. Mwah. He's a friend, and he's amazing. If you have IRS problems, if you have a loved one who died and there's some tax issues with it, if you have a business, if there's some problems with tax planning, any of that stuff, or tax issues, call Randy Martin now. Here we are 10 years ago at his office when we first started working together and sponsoring the show. Randy Martin at IRSprob.com. Here he is speaking at UT Austin, his alma mater, to the students. He also won Longhorn 100 Award. He is the best. Go to IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com. Or call 214-214-3000. That's 214-214-3000. Or tell him Chris Crock sent you. Well, I got my roof. I'm going to show you some pictures, but I got my roof. And it's from Blue Ribbon DFW. Go to BlueRibbonDFW.com. They are literally the best. They put on over 25,000, I could say 25,001 roofs, because they did my roof in one freaking day. They replaced all the decking because they knew, John Hopkins, the owner, knew my decking was not up to code, meaning it would get paid for with the roof, which I got new nice decking. I'm going to show you pictures now. This is what my old roof looked like. Here we go.
Yeah.
This is John and me on my roof.
I don't know anything about it. Do you want to do a show for me? I don't know anything.
Okay, clearly you can see my roof there. It's like a heather or something like that, all right? Now let's go to my roof today. There it is. Look at how gorgeous that is in one day. Look at how beautiful that is. Class 4 shingles. Let me show you a few more pictures. Here we go. Class 4 shingles. Look at how beautiful that is. And then let's show you this one. Class 4 shingles, ridge vents and everything. But hold on. Look at this while they're doing the construction. Look at that, dude. They replaced all the decking. Now when I walk up on my roof, which I haven't done yet, I will do soon. When they do that, I will be able to not be mushy in the ground. There's Class 4 shingles they put on my roof on Friday. Class 4 will save you typically between 25% and up to 45 or 50% off your insurance. I'm not freaking kidding you. My homeowner's insurance is like $5,500 a year at least. I'm going to save about $1,000, maybe $2,000. I'm going to find out soon from my insurance company. They are the best. Go to blueribbondfw.com, blueribbondfw.com. There's Tish, John, and Trevor and his wife Jenna, all family. There they are, best in McKinney, year after year after year. blueribbondfw.com. Tell them Chris Croc sent you. They are the best. What else do I have for you? Fort Worth police threaten preachers at LGBT festival with speech citations and draw DOJ attention, reports Texas Scorecard. This is the Trinity Pride Festival. We've seen it. I'll show you a little bit to refresh your memory if you haven't or if you don't recall. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. I got a special bonus for you. I don't want to forget to play this. Before we get into that, you have to see this. I laughed my ass off this morning, like insanely. Okay, Mitch McConnell came out with a picture. You know that, right? You saw he came out with a picture today showing him. He's, oh, I'm fine. Look at me. I'm in a hospital. Well, look at this. They also sent this video out. Let me show it. They sent a video out to really show how amazing Mitch is. Look at him. His recovery has been amazing. Watch this.
Honey, show them you're okay.
Look at that. Woo!
See, I told you he was okay.
Woo! Yeah, Mitch McConnell. Isn't that amazing? Mitch is great. Mitch is freaking great. This is the best. I love this, Mitch. Okay, and then here's another one. Here's Mitch. Or is this the other? Watch this. I was crying. I was during a commercial break and I saw these on my Twitter feed and I was crying. Watch. Mitch. Wow. Yeah, baby. Mitch McConnell. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. It's just so freaking funny. Holy crap. That's the best. One more real fast because this is like Mitch is fine, everybody. Look at how great he is. Look at him.
Honey,
Look at
show
him.
them you're okay.
Look at him. Oh, hell yeah.
See, I told you he...
Mitch McConnell and the hizzy. I was crying at that. That one was really fun, but then when I watched there was something about the Michael Jackson Thriller one. I was freaking crying. I'm during a commercial break. I'm getting ready to go back on in Chicago this morning. I'm crying my ass off. It was so funny. Okay. Freedom of speech threatens preachers at LGBT festival with citations. Trinity Pride Festival. They denied the pastors that wanted to preach, Richard Penkoski and David Grisham. And here's what we got. First of all, the U.S. Attorney for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dillon, has now responded. Troubling, our civil rights team is on it. We'll play a little bit of that in case you missed it. I'm sure you've seen it, but nonetheless, here's a little bit.
If someone is offended by your talking, then we have a problem.
That is a constitutional violation of our rights. If you shut us down,
No, if they are offended by your speech, okay, then I'll write you this ticket and then we'll go from there.
Wait, you're going to take us for offensive speech?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you serious?
speech. You're going to cite us for
Yes, it's
offensive
called disorderly
speech.
conduct.
That's
Oh, whoa.
no.
Yes, it is.
Disorderly conduct has to be accompanied by conduct.
This is the conduct
I'm
that
a
you're
retired
doing.
police officer myself.
For who?
26 years federal law enforcement.
So it's
and
federal.
antitrust.
So this has nothing to do with local.
Wow. I know
This is a nasty woman who has lost. She's lost the authority and the narrative when she is pissant arguing back and forth with this guy.
Well, I
Do
look at
whatever y'all think that you can do.
it says 80
whatever we think.
decibels.
Wow.
It says 80 decibels.
Since y'all know the law so well, I'm not gonna let y'all do
So
whatever you
I just want to clarify. If anything is said that's offensive, you're going to write a ticket?
If someone complains that your language or what you're saying is offensive,
What you're saying is offensive. This woman, this is the second year in a row, this woman is a militant anti-free speech activist with a freaking gun and a badge. She needs to be reeled in stat. This guy I have a little more compassion for because he means well, but he just doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
I mean, yeah.
But no, I want to, and I'm being dead serious. So if a biological male comes up to me who says he's a woman, and I call him, I say, sir, and he gets offended, is that a citable offense? If I call a biological male a male, and he says I'm offended, I'm gonna whatever. Is that a citable offense if he's offended by that speech?
Man, we're talking gray area right now. We're not talking about earlier when it says that's a vague conversation, vague charge.
I'm genuinely curious.
Sure, I don't believe I would cite that for offensive language. Offensive language to me is calling somebody
N-word.
N-word, curse words.
We don't curse, we're preachers.
Sure, no, I agree. But it's more like you call somebody a male. I don't necessarily find that offensive unless they come up.
You don't, but what if they do?
That's what I'm saying. If they come up and say, "Hey, I'm offended by that," and you continue to do that, well, then that's just becoming offensive to them.
And
Correct?
here's the catch. Here's the catch.
So it's the hey, warning. I'm feeling offended by that. Then we're moving.
Okay,
into
what the hell? I'm offended by that. Here's your warning. I'm gay and I'm offended. Here's your warning. What? Come arrest me because I'm anti homosexuality and I'm protesting?
potential.
But so what if I'm offended by what they say? Like they come up telling me this and then the other, swearing at me. Will they get cited?
Are you offended by it?
I'm offended by all of this.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
I'm offended by seeing half-naked men run around with children. I am deeply offended by that.
Correct. Unfortunately, there's not much on our side to do anything.
Wait a minute. So you can cuff and stuff this guy, but not the gay pride people offend him? It's an absolute disgrace and a joke. And then one more thing is the supervisor we've all seen too, who came up, and we'll hit this real fast. And then I got new news for you because the chief of police spoke out tonight. Finally, Eddie Garcia from Fort Worth PD.
Hello, officer. My name is David Grisham, and in Grisham versus Fort Worth, 2014 and 15, was settled out of court with the city of Fort Worth. We settled on this exact dispute, and the settlement was that I could preach anywhere on a public street that's free and open to the public in downtown Fort Worth. That's on Grisham versus Fort Worth.
But you're not downtown.
This is downtown.
This is a closed event to whoever they decide they don't want anybody in here because they have a permit.
But you're not downtown. Dude, it doesn't matter if you're downtown or anywhere. If the city of Fort Worth and it's a judgment against them, then it's a judgment. Or it's a judgment, a decision.
So if you want to preach, you will have to be outside the barricades.
So,
Like if you want to stand right there and preach, stand right there and preach.
so if we preach inside, what will happen?
You'll be asked to leave.
And if we don't leave, what will
You'll be
happen?
arrested for criminal trespass.
We'll be arrested
On the
for
street
trespass.
here?
On a public street, for being on a public
When
side.
somebody has a permit, yes. They're authorized to let whoever they want in and kick out whoever they want.
Right, this is exactly the same argument they made in 2014 and 15, in which a federal judge ruled against and said that we were allowed to preach on any public sidewalk as long as it's free and open to public, which is in compliance with Supreme Court ruling that says if it's free and open to public, you can't discriminate based
It's not
on
free and open to
religion.
the public. It's a permitted site.
It is permitted,
So it's not free and open
it's
to
not
the public.
closed off, and they're not charging admission.
Barricades is closed.
All right, I think the problem is here. It's a public area. This might go back to the DFW. They tried to have the Muslims only. That these idiots trying to have a Muslims only water park event where they invite the general public writ large, but only Muslims. You can't do that. This might be the same thing. It depends. I mean, they got a permit. I don't know how that works, to be honest with you. The other side of the barricade or not, but that's right there. So, but still, this whole thing reeks to high hell. Let me share this with you. So, Harmeet Dillon, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights for the United States of America, says that we're investigating at the Civil Rights Team, which is very good. This now from the Dallas Express. Fort Worth Police Department previously told officers Fort Worth PD previously told Dallas Express that officers issued citations because of Grisham's use of a bullhorn outside of festival grounds, not because of the content, but the problem is The amplified noise they were complaining by businesses were bothering them, but apparently the amplification of this device does not go over the threshold. I think it's 80 decibels that's lawfully, legally allowed. And so if it doesn't go over the threshold, you cannot ticket him. And you can't ticket him for being offensive with quote-unquote offensive speech because that's called freedom of speech. You know, I was just filling in Chicago this morning, I told you about, and you're not going to believe this, the 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, all three, I believe, Trump appointees, 2-1 ruled that there's no such thing as an assault weapon, but an assault weapons ban on AR-15s is lawful in Illinois. And that just came down. It's not going to go to the Supreme Court. We know what the Supreme Court's going to do. They're going to say, you're not going to take away our freaking AR-15s or a right to buy one. They are so neutered up there compared to where I'm sitting in Texas. You cannot buy a semi-automatic shotgun. For example, unless you're law enforcement, if you're in Illinois, semi-automatic shotguns where you can put in like 6 shells, maybe 8 shells, and go, boom, 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 boom. I was at my Uncle Woody's, my wife's uncle. We were at his house in Minnesota last month when we laid her father's ashes to rest, and we shot his semi-automatic shotgun off the porch. It was a beautiful thing. It's incredible. But you cannot do that in Illinois. Now they say you can't buy an AR-15, but that'll be struck down by the Supreme Court. It is freaking sickening. But and so one of the things I said, though, and they were using the massacre, if you remember, in Highland Park, suburban Chicago, on that 4th of July massacre from that terrorist guy who was mentally ill and a crazed lunatic, and his dad who allowed that crap to happen. The Illinois Democrat, of course, representative from that part of the state of Illinois, said, we're saving lives. We've already saved, no one telling how many lives we saved. What do you mean? How many homicidal maniacs that want to slaughter 10 people went and tried to buy a gun in the past 2 weeks or whatever? You're an idiot. Stop lying. The point is, one of the things I said this morning that ties in with what I'm talking about right now with Fort Worth is, I said, why aren't they going after the First Amendment? Why do they only go after the Second Amendment? Why aren't they coming after here in Fort Worth? So you go to Illinois to get your Second Amendment ripped off of you, but you got to come to Fort Worth to get your First Amendment ripped off. What? In Fort Worth? Let me go now because there's two things. To close off this on the Dallas Express story, we had this, and then we have late breaking news from the chief just moments ago before I started the show. The department said that the City of Fort Worth Law Department will provide refresher training to current officers and new recruits on First Amendment protections and related legal issues involving free speech, protesters, and similar activity. You think? Now comes Chief Eddie Garcia in an interview with WFAA TV Channel 8 that, like I said, just came out today, like tonight, as I hit send or start. Here's the highlights from WFAA TV Channel 8. Viral video at Pride protest prompts Fort Worth police to review First Amendment rights training. Quote, Fort Worth Police Chief Eddie Garcia says his department is taking responsibility after the viral video that we've all just seen again. The biggest issue I have, said Chief Garcia, is just the conversations and the way that we were describing what is lawful and what is not lawful. When we're right, and when we're wrong, Garcia says. There certainly was a better way to have that communication, and we were wrong in the manner in which we communicated that. Certainly we're going to take accountability for that. But, let's see. Garcia says the accountability includes department-wide First Amendment training. You think? Civil rights attorney C.J. Grisham issued his client, said that he represents David Grisham. I don't know if it's his family member. It sure sounds like it. But he says that the constitutional concerns extend beyond the viral exchange that we saw. Another officer issued his client a citation for misuse of a bullhorn during the protest. Quote, they've already violated their rights, Attorney Grisham said, arguing the citation is not supported by Fort Worth's noise ordinance. It doesn't meet the noise violation ordinance in any way whatsoever. So just on its face, the charge is baseless. He also claims that Officer Stogner, this crazed, seemingly LGBT leftist lunatic activist with a badge and a gun, quote, he also claims that Stogner, that lady, engaged in similar conduct during last year's Pride Parade Festival and believes the incident reflects a broader pattern within the department. WFAA TV Channel 8 has requested information related to Stogner's employment history and any previous investigation. Yes. Find out what this lady's all about. Find out what she has on her record. Has she been in trouble with this before? Is she a leftist activist? Although WFA TV Channel 8 is mostly leftist activist. But nonetheless, we're going to see, because now Channel 8's digging into it, and I think that's great. Go after Officer Stogner, please. Quote, we have her on video doing this last year at the Pride Festival, says Grisham. So this is a pattern of abuse by Officer Stogner. Sue, 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 is what I say. It's not just her. Look at how many other officers were standing around, Grisham says. Amen. So that's the latest that we have on that. And but quite remarkable, isn't it? Okay, so now I want to get to this. We have really sick stuff that just came out about Tim Walz and the Pardons Board in trying to pardon, and in pardoning the illegal Laotian man who raped a girl at 10 years of age repeatedly over a period of time, over and over again. It's sick what Fox News Digital learned today. I'm going to share that with you coming up next. But first, my plumbing in my house and my foundation work in my house. The root shields, keeping the roots from underneath my foundation. The grading of my yard, all done by Due West Foundation and Plumbing. The replacing of 17 feet of pipe under my concrete, slab foundation was done by Jim Dutton and his company, Jim Dutton, the host of Texas Home Improvement, and his company, Due West Foundation and Plumbing. Due West has replaced my water heater. They did my remodel for plumbing in my bathroom. They did as I said, the 17 feet of pipe. They've done every single thing. Go to du-west.com. They are the best. du-west.com or call 972-406-0912. 972-406-0912. If you want the best, call Due West. du-west.com. That's du-west.com. You now have a plumber and a foundation company. Don't ever get a separate plumbing company that doesn't do foundation or a foundation company that doesn't do plumbing. The foundation companies are not licensed. Don't mess around. Jim Dutton, his company, Due West, multi-generational, started in the 70s by his dad. Jim's been running it for decades and decades. His sons run it now with him too, Adam and Johan. My wife worked there for 3 years. That's how good they are, okay? du-west.com, plumbing, foundation, root shields. They do concrete leveling. They do retention walls. They do everything you could imagine, and they're the best. Okay. Tim Walz from Fox News Digital. Exposed documents reveal why the Pardon Board, awarded a repeat child rapist, a pardon. Quote, he would have no future if he was not pardoned. Wow. He repeatedly raped this child at 10 years of age, starting at 10. The Clemency Commission recommended he get clemency and be pardoned based on not the crime, but immigration concerns. This is how you know you're in a cult. When you will overlook a child rapist because the cult says you have to overlook it because the greater cult needs are important, and the greater cult needs are to protect illegals, even child rapist illegals. This is the most wicked, sickening thing, and I guarantee you Tim Walz is embarrassed and ashamed that this went public. Maybe he's not. He's a sick freaking man. This could have been your vice president right now. Imagine that. The Laotian illegal Chulu Vang admitted to repeatedly raping this 10-year-old girl over a multi-year period, beginning when she was 10. The two board members who voted against clemency, there were two that said, hell no. They said it's because we're not doing this for immigration. No. You had two people that had their heads on straight, that weren't protecting a rapist, that aren't members of the cult. The other four members recommended a pardon, each listing their concern about him being deported. That is a cult. That's why I wrote it right here. Cult. That's a cult. Not having a father is not the best interest of society, said one of the parole board members. Another said the applicant stated the need for clemency was related to immigration issues. Sick. Vang came here as an illegal when he was between 18 and 20 years of age. The first rape took place when she was in 4th grade. Poor little girl. Documents reviewed by Fox News Digital show the victim did not understand what he was doing when he raped her, so she let him. As time went on, the document notes the victim began to tell her friends about the abuse, who testified that she was very angry and sad about it. Vang, the illegal, offered her $10 to keep her quiet. Can you believe Tim Walz and the Democrats in their cult said, let's keep this guy here, let him rape more children? I mean, this is satanic. Then the 12-year-old victim, so this abuse went on for over 2 years. The 12-year-old victim experienced pressure from her family not to cooperate. Everybody around her was saying, rape is okay. You're being raped. It's okay. Hugh-town dude saying, good evening, Chris. How have you been? I've been very good. I was filling in this morning in Chicago, my hometown, and it is a fire hose of information. So I literally, and I'm not complaining. I told my wife, I started working at 4 p.m. yesterday after church. And I worked all the way. I'm not complaining or anything, but I worked all the way through. There's so much to read. I could not begin to describe because depth. I want to have depth. So I started working and prepping from 4 p.m. I did not stop till I think 2 or 3 o'clock. I had 1 hour of sleep, and then I got ready because the show starts at 5 a.m. Central. So I got up at like 4:30. I went to bed at like 3:15, 3:30. But then what do I do after that though? I go to bed after the show. The show's over at 9. So it's just how it is. I don't normally wake up at 4 in the morning. So, it's up and downs. But it was good though. It was great. And I posted on my Twitter and Facebook. You can watch the show because they do YouTube, and I do live from here in my studio on YouTube too while I'm doing the show there in Chicago. And I'll be on again there in San Antonio. I'll be on in San Antonio coming up on Friday and Monday of next week. Anyways, there were several aggravating circumstances because he abused the victim over an extended period of time. In one instance, he drove her to his home to rape her, not using sexual protection. Upon his arrest, he told police, I made a mistake, but this is a minor thing. It's a cultural thing in Thailand to marry her and have sex with girls as young as 12. You mean 10. This is a sick MFer. The complaint also notes that Vang stated the victim should be arrested also because she was oh my gosh. The complaint also says the rapist said the victim should be arrested also because she was as much at fault. Tim Walz and his cult gave this guy clemency. It's the girl's fault. Just like Graham Plattner says it's the woman's fault, especially if she's a Republican. This is a cult. Anything that protects child rapists for the cult is a cult for the movement. Mr. Vang expresses shame and regret. He does not share any thoughts or insight about what the victim must have gone through, said the commissioners in their notes. The commissioner said that the victim, little girl, supports this pardon. His wife, the rapist's wife, says she's forgiven. And he also has immigration concerns. He has remorse and was discharged from probation. He retracted his prior statement about it being the result of culture. He admits he was wrong, and this will always be wrong. And the victim supports a pardon. Tim Walz, you are a sick person. I want to slam my fist on this desk. You are a sick, freaking, evil, wicked man. It's just disgusting and angering to think about this for any one of us. It's a child. Illegals. Speaking of that, illegals. Dallas Federal Reserve Bank said that illegal immigration, 7 million they estimate under Biden, illegal immigration accounted for. You know all the housing prices that are way out of control? You know all the rental prices that are way out of control? Let me share something that I got today that's just, I literally retweeted this and said, WTH, what the heck, ready? 10 years ago, the average mortgage rate 10 years ago was 3.5%. The average new home 10 years ago was $350,000. Today, the rate went from 3.5% 10 years ago to now 6.5%. The average new home cost $540,000. We went from $350,000 to $540,000. That's an almost $200,000 increase and a doubling of the interest rates. And so here's why. Ready? Here's why. Federal Reserve Bank says 30% of home price increase. 30% of all home price increase. That would be your $200,000 on the average house. 30% of that is due to illegal freaking immigrant invasion under Biden. And also 20% of the rent increases also is due to Joe Biden's illegal invasion. Think of it. Where were 7 million people? According to them, it was 12 to 20. But where were 7 million people? Where are they going to live? 7 million people live in the streets? No, they took homes, rental properties. They destroy our country. They're destroying our country. That's why your houses are so expensive. 30% of the reason why your houses are expensive is because of illegals. I'll remind my children that, my young adult children. Elf Support chimes in. The Dearborn police enforced the Arab festival in Dearborn, Michigan. They were threatening to ticket and arrest people, handing out Christian evangelical material to people leaving the festival. Well, you know what? I hope those people sued. I hope they sued, and sued again. Speaking of illegals, this is a great story from the Dallas Express. Fort Worth ISD closes newcomer academy as 42% of students need English support. 42% of Fort Worth ISD students don't speak the English. Language support students now make up 42% of the entire district. This is abysmal. This is sad, and this is sick. But they shut down the newcomer school because it was cloistering them away and protecting them from being integrated into society and being forced to learn English and integrate, assimilate. Now students will get access, and by the way, all these leftist parents who never complained about the school district being failing, schools failing, never complained about them, then they all showed up and they complained when the state took over the district, and they complained when they shut down the newcomer academy. Where the hell were you when the school district was failing more and more and more over the past 10 years? Where were you? Only when people come in to fix the district do you complain. That is graduating failure. That is just like what I talked about this morning in Chicago, how everything is handled there. Hell no. And God bless Texas. So, by the way, it also this shutting down the newcomer academy and having the illegals go into regular schools, quote, it gives them access to grade level classrooms, electives, fine arts, athletics, and extracurricular activities. So, gee, I don't know, does that sound like assimilation to you? This is something I really wanted to share with you. It's so sick. My kids, and probably your kids, love going to the anime conventions. There's also furry conventions. At the anime conventions and at the furry conventions, pedophiles will go there. They will look for your child or your grandchild. They will. We know somebody who is a friend of ours whose daughter was groped at one of the anime festivals. Your little daughter, who's 12, 10, 15, 16, you have to, maybe even 17, you have to protect her. If your daughter's going to I just said it, furry convention or an anime convention, there are a lot of pedophiles there, and looking to groom or get your kid. Not tons of them everywhere, but there's a lot. I don't know how many. Let's just make up a number. If there's 1,000 people going to the convention, you probably got maybe 50 pedophiles there. I don't know. And they're looking for victims, whether it's groping them on the floor and then walking away so that they can't get caught, quote unquote, which is what happened to my friend's daughter, or something else. Well, here's just a sick thing happened in Frisco to a poor sweetheart girl. I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to show you this sick pedophile who just was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. This is his uniform. If you don't know what a furry is, it's somebody who dresses up like an animal. That was his costume. This is the costume, custom made, of a man who raped a child. This is the furry costume of a man who took a minor child from Frisco, in North Texas here, of course, Dallas-Fort Worth, and drove her to Georgia to a furry convention where he raped this poor little child. That's what it looked like. These sick son of a bees. Now, just because somebody's an adult wearing some outfit like that doesn't mean you beat the hell out of them or accuse them of being a pedophile. But what it means is these people are freaking sick, and they go do things to your children. Maybe it's only 5% of the people there, but it's way too many. You don't want to go to these places. Now, federal prosecutors were saying that it defies logic, or they said something like, here we go, this defendant's actions were depraved and absolutely justify every day the imposed 20-year sentence. Most children's experience with people costumed in costumed animals comes in the context of fun encounters at theme parks. This defendant turned a furry costume into a nightmare of sexual abuse. It shocks the conscience that a child was allowed into a convention where adults are dressed up as furry animals and sex devices were being sold. This is the federal prosecutor. Not one person in that convention contacted authorities to protect the child. Every child deserves security, dignity, and community, and that stands fiercely in their defense. I'm getting goosebumps. Protecting children is one of the most solemn responsibilities, and we will act ferociously against anyone who threatens such safety. So, if your child goes to these things, here's what you do. Do you do what I talked to my daughter about when they were going to these things? And she was 14, 13, 12, 15. We either went with or we went with them when they were young like that to the anime conventions. They had one at the Sheraton downtown Dallas, and I got us a nice suite, and I was in my room, so I was left alone. And then they would go, but I always told them, you go together. And they were in a crowd. They were in a group of like 5. You always stick together. You never leave anybody alone. You go together. At that time, my son was probably 18. My daughter was probably 16, something like that. Or 15 and 18 and such. And she had 2 or 3 of her girlfriends, and then my son, and they have mutual friends, brothers and sisters and stuff. So there's probably 5 or 6 of them. They all stayed at the hotel. And they went down and they stayed together, and I was there. If your daughter's younger, you need to be with her. Or your son. Okay? And then here's something else that is I'm not going to whiz in your Cheerios and make you miserable, but I want to save you and your children's lives or your loved ones' lives. Listen closely. One of the things I learned about 14 years ago in Dallas-Fort Worth was I had Trooper Lonnie Haschel, who was the spokesperson for the state troopers of Texas in Dallas-Fort Worth. He came on my show, and he said that, Chris, the one thing that every one of your audience members must hear is if you have a flat tire and you're on a highway, you drive as long as it takes to get off that damn highway before you go change that tire. Do not pull over on the side of a highway. Do not pull over on the side of a highway because you will get killed. People get attracted to the light. They might be texting, might be looking down, and they will kill you. Not intentionally. Drunks will kill you too, but that's intentional because even though they don't mean to, they're drunk, and you intentionally drive drunk, which means you're responsible for murdering somebody, but that's another story. So here it happened again. On Central Expressway, 8 a.m. this morning, in the northbound lanes near Royal Lane of 75, just south of course, the High Five, Dallas Fire Rescue said a driver struck the disabled vehicle and pinned a man beneath the wreckage. He died. One man died, 2 others went to the hospital. A driver struck a disabled vehicle on North Central Expressway in Dallas Sunday morning. Okay, Sunday morning, not Monday morning. Emergency responders transported a female passenger from that vehicle and the driver of the second vehicle. So somebody's dead. And you know what? One night I was driving home from doing my talk show in Dallas-Fort Worth, and from my studios downtown I used to work at. And I had a flat tire. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And it's going doom 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 doom. I'm like, "This is now I'm the one. Am I gonna follow Lonnie Haschel's advice or not? Am I gonna follow the trooper's advice?" I did. I drove on the rim, being very concerned that I'm ruining my rim. But he said, if you ruin a rim, it's worth saving your life. I drove on that rim, and I drove probably a mile or 2. I don't know, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, until I got off safely near my house because I was close to home, and pulled off at a gas station off the highway, obviously. And my rim ended up being fine. It didn't even have to be replaced. No repairs other than the tire. That was my moment of truth. So here's my question to you: is it worth a rim to die for? I mean, that's insane. If I would have pulled over and down on the side of the road, it wouldn't even have hurt the rim versus going. So, anyways, don't die over a rim. Tell your daughter, your son, your wife, your husband, everybody, okay? We're going to close with Mick Jagger, my guy. Apparently, they are going to tour 26, 27. I will be going to 1 or 2 shows, and they're kind of advertising apparently as the last one, which they never did before, but obviously there's a reason why Mick's 82 and Keith's around the same age. Quote, and I saw them 2 years ago in Chicago with my parents. It's one of their favorite towns to play in. Mick and Keith met over, Keith had Chess Records studio. Chess Records was a blues studio in Chicago, legendary. I'm so proud of being from that town with blues and rock and roll. And Keith had a whole bunch of Chess Records studios albums under his arm at the at the tube, as they call it, the rail, and that sparked a friendship. Mick saw that, and that sparked their friendship way back when. It's quite remarkable, isn't it? Pretty amazing. But Mick said today, when asked about Bruce Springsteen and how Bruce lectures people about politics, Mick said singers should avoid politics at shows. The bottom line of my thing really is that my job in the live music world is for those people that come is to have the best time they possibly can. Amen. They don't do this crap. He does admit that he writes some politics in certain songs, but he puts the politics in the song where it's not all about the whole thing. So he gets his little jabs in, of which sometimes I recognize something, but it's very little. This is why one of the many reasons why they're the greatest rock and roll band of all time. They know their audience. They don't screw with their audience. They don't lecture their audience. They perform at the highest level of their abilities to the highest, and they're polished. It is Mick. It is his level of excellence. He graduated from the London School of Economics. He's an astute, shrewd businessman. He said, for 2 hours or whatever, it's to forget all their problems and the problems of the world and their mortgages and whatever, just to give them the best time they can have. It's similar to going to a sports event, really, because everything else is shouted out. You're just watching who's going to win. You're not worrying about everything else. You don't want to lecture them. Oh my gosh, he figured it out. This show has been brought to you. He's figured it out for a long time. This show's been brought to you by IRSprob.com, IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning.